Hello, Flosstube. This is Stasha, and this is Stitch and Crime. Welcome to my channel, and I am definitely not centered. Better? Okay. I have a shelf growing out of my head, but that's okay, because we don't have a lot of space on the table today, and I need to clean it. So there's some of you going, Stasha, girl, where are your glasses? We will get into that later. But because of the glasses saga, because I know there's some of you that are here for the stitching, some that are here for the crime, and some that really could care less about personal details, so we'll put the personal details in the middle. But needless to say, at the moment, I do not have working progressive lenses. We'll get into that later. Meanwhile, as a result of not having working progressive lenses, I only had, okay, I do have reading glasses, so I can see my notes. I did get, okay, I've been having some really good months, over 10,000. I actually had over 12,000 in July. Because of the change in prescription and change in glasses, I managed 6,810 stitches in August. Most of that was in Kingdom of Books. There is Kingdom of Books. We finished a lot of the bottom shelf there. So that was 1,768 stitches. I'm thinking it's either 1,700 or 1,900. Can't read it. Guys, I can't stitch without glasses, which is why I didn't get much stitching done in August. Okay, yep, 1,768. So the majority of my stitches, 26% of my stitches in August, were Kingdom of Books. Yes, that is a long piece of fabric. That's because this is the first 2 pages. It's one of the I have 3 full coverage pieces. I don't do full coverage very often. And pretty sure the bag is Tanya's Needle and Bone, but I could be wrong. I do know I got it in San Antonio. Okay. The second piece, the second most stitches went to Queen of the Needle, which was one of my Whip Ghost squares. There we go. So this is the fabric for Queen of the Needle. This is the Queen of the Needle cube for the mouse. So I've already stitched the mouse. I've already cut out the mouse. I have already finished the mouse. The mouse, I think I showed the mouse to you guys last video. It has a cabinet it lives in. So this is where I am on Queen of the Needle cube. So I have some back stitching to finish here. These 2 are done. So this one and one more square, and then this will be ready to put together. But here's my Queen of the Needle mouse cube. Queen of the Needle mouse cube. And that was 15% of my stitching with 1,036 stitches. Next up is August with 852 stitches, and it has been put away. It has been put away in my stitching roll. All of my completed stitching lives in here. So, sorry. I'm not going to dig it out for you. Besides that, I showed it last video. Next up is Lilac, who had 11%. This is Nora Corbett's Lilac on Monet's Meadow from Stitchery Express. And I have completed my goal of, it's either 5% or 10%. Anyway, goal stitches for the year have been met on this one. There may be more stitching on it later this year. I have really fallen in love with this fabric. This Monet's Meadow is so easy to stitch on, and it just feels really nice. But that is as far as I have on Lilac. And that's a Kay's Creation lap stand. Okay, next up is Ladybird Fairy. And 11% of the month was on Ladybird Fairy. Lilac had 796 stitches. I did not write down how many Ladybird Fairy had, but it's somewhere between 796 and 618. Because this is where we got to on Ladybird Fairy. And look, those orange spots, those are the ladybugs. Remember, we're doing Japanese style ladybugs on this, ladybirds, and they are orange and black, kind of tiger striped actually. So I thought I had miscounted on here, but when I sat down with some counting pins and figured out where I was actually mistaken. I had not miscounted, and I was good to go. So this is where we are on Ladybird Fairy, and this is an American Dream. The lap stand on that one is American Dream, and that is from embroidery.com in Logan. Okay, next up, I spent 9% of August on my Christmas sampler. This is a collection of Shepherd's Bush pieces. So Shepherd's Bush did 8 ornaments in Just Cross Stitch, the ornament edition, starting in 2000. So you've got 2000 years ago, and then there was a new ornament each year, and I am doing them as a sampler. So I put 618 stitches, and guys, if I just sat my butt down, I could finish this in a weekend probably, because look, we are halfway through the second to last ornament, and then there's just one more that goes in there. And you're saying, why is that piece of fabric so big? Because if I wanted to, I could take these and restitch them so they would all be on one piece. But I don't think that's going to happen. So anyway, just 1.5 ornaments to go, and then this puppy will be finished. So who knows? I could have a second finish in September. Because after all, the first finish is going to be the Shepherd's Bush September. Oh. Floss. Knocked it out of the... Okay. 7% of the month went to Secret Carousel, which is 498 stitches. Guys, my needle minder keeps getting stuck. The needles are going to the... So since I gave up on using the Q-snap on this one, I've been using these nice little magnetic straps to kind of hold the fabric in place, as you can see here. Although obviously this one came undone because it got stuck to the needle minder, but there were stitches put in. This does not look, this was not, because it goes this way. Okay, now we have it the right direction. So this is Secret Carousel, and this is the direction it goes. This is the top. So we are working our way down the side and hoping to get to some color other than 939. So sick of 939. So you know what? I'm going to fix that later. Okay, then 4% of the month went to class schedule, where we were working on, I'm sitting here showing you the back. We were working on Care of Magical Creatures. That is Buckbeak. So hopefully this month we will finish Buckbeak. And then look, there's only 2 more squares left, and then that one will be done. And I put 320 stitches into Buckbeak. And this piece is going to come with me to Crazy Woman next week. So I am taking my daughter-in-law to her very first retreat. So if you see us in Casper, please say hi to her, because this is going to be her first retreat. She's never been to a retreat before. So the last piece I worked on, because I worked on 9 projects in August, is Summer Carousel Horse, which I did not bring upstairs because it is already mounted. It's on a needlepoint frame, which is then mounted into a floor stand. And I really don't want to unscrew it and bring it all the way up here. But I managed to put in 140 stitches to finish the March Whipco square for Summer Carousel Horse. Guys, I need some water. This is my new mug. I put a jellyfish on it. It's a color changing mug. It turns purple in the summer. Purple in the sunlight. Okay, so July goals. I finished all my outstanding Whipco squares. So we're all caught up on Whipco, which is really good because like usually I give up on Whipco around April. So this year I have actually stuck it with Whipco. I've also done really good on the Australian road trip. I'm not too far behind the leaders, and I'm ahead of the last pace car. So doing okay there. Okay. I did not get the baby blankets made, which is sad because I now have a niece and a nephew. Well, grandniece and grandnephew, because it is my 2 nieces that had kids. So I have a grandniece and a grandnephew, and I have not finished their quilts. But hey, who knows? I may manage to do that on a weekend in September. Who am I kidding? I'm going to Casper, and I have FanX. So yeah, maybe they'll get them for Christmas. I've got time off between now and Christmas. Okay, yeah, I took some time off during August to work on the baby quilts. I cleaned the room a little bit. I worked some on Summer Carousel Horse. What else did I do on those days? I saw the second eye doctor, which we'll talk about after we talk about stitching. Okay, so those were my August goals. So I kind of sort of met some of them. September goals. So I'm going to, my September goals are 1, to have fun at the retreat in Casper. I am driving this year instead of flying because I am taking my daughter-in-law. So I'm going to leave Salt Lake, well, leave Sandy. It's a suburb of Salt Lake. I'm leaving Salt Lake just after rush hour on Wednesday. I am picking her up in Logan, and then we are going to drive from Logan to Casper. From Salt Lake to Casper is 8 hours and 10 minutes. So a little bit further away than Vegas. Well, 2 hours further away than Vegas. So, but it will be time for us to spend together and get to know each other. So that's the first September goal. The second September goal is my Whip Go Squares, which we have Jack Frost Tree Farm, where you still can't see the white stitches. They just don't show up. This is not white fabric. This is blue fabric, but the white, I have used 2 different whites now, and neither one of them show up. You cannot see the white. Okay, well, you can kind of see the white stitches under the car, but from a distance, you cannot see the white stitches. They just disappear. Somebody suggested using 032. Somebody suggested actually stitching the snow in blue instead of white. I am not picking out the over 1 on that. But my Whip Go Square is to put 1,000 stitches in this. So I'm thinking I'm going to actually I'm going to move down and do the Jack Frost part, because I know that this piece of fabric is too big. So I'm going to figure out where the edge of the square is, and then I can trim off the excess. So that is one of my September goals, is to work on Jack Frost and see if we can figure out what white will work on that. And we talked about turning Jack Frost into a wall hanging, because I have got the cute, is not this the perfect backing fabric for Jack Frost Tree Farm? That is just perfect. So we're going to turn Jack Frost into a wall hanging and quilt it. Before you say, Stasha, that's for the back. What are you going to put on the front? Where's the fabric for the front? Still have the trunks, just smaller. But I have got to figure out something to make the snow show up on that. Okay, the second Whip Go Square was Summer Queen. This is where I am on Summer Queen. So yeah, that is the front. So I'm looking at the back. Okay, so here is where I am on Summer Queen. So we're going to put 1,000 stitches into Summer Queen. And we may end up putting even more stitches into Summer Queen, because the annual goal on this was to put 3,000 stitches in, and I think I've maybe put 500-600 in all year. So the real goal is to try and put 3,000 plus stitches in to meet my annual goal. Now, when I talk about annual goals, my annual goal this year was 10% of all my smalls and all my mediums. then I was going to do 7% of all my larges, which, as I look at my stats, has been realistically changed down to 5%. So we will put 5%, sorry, itchy nose. We will put 5% on all of my large pieces. And then I was going to put 3% in on my BAPs, on my really big pieces. Guys, this is bugging me. Okay, that's not going to happen. So I lowered that to 2%, which means I still need 3,779 stitches in Secret Carousel. So guess what's coming with me to Casper? Secret Carousel is going to come with me to Casper. The thing is that the only way that I am going to meet my annual goal is if I manage to finish the goal stitches on 5 pieces each month, because there are 4 months left in the year and I have 20 pieces that have not had the goal stitches met. So my annual goal stitches for, guys, I hate this not having my regular glasses. So for in order to complete my annual goal stitches, the 5 pieces that I'm going to complete the goal stitching in on September are Lilac, Class Schedule, Sentinel, which I don't have out here right now. I'm going to put in at least 1,000 on Secret Carousel, because I don't want to get to December and have Secret Carousel be the only thing I'm stitching on in December. I'm going to put the 3,000 that I need to on Summer Queen. So Class Schedule, Lilac, Sentinel, Summer Queen, and Jack Frost that I just showed you. If I put 3,000 in Jack Frost, 2,500 2,500 on Jack Frost, I will have met the goal there. And then, so that's Jack Frost, Summer Queen, Class Schedule, Lilac, Sentinel is the 5, but because knowing myself, I'm going to go a little bit stretch goal further, and I am going to work on Alice and put 1,500 stitches into Alice, because Alice is actually wonderful to work on. Alice is stitched on Fiery Skies from Under the Sea Fabrics. This is the Alice in Wonderland from Bothy Threads. I don't have the kit. I had a friend who finished the kit and sent me her pattern. So as you can see, I've got most of this part. We do not have any of Alice's head in there yet. But you see where we are. And I am using Silks for You fibers on this. So 1,500 stitches on Alice would be a wonderful thing to do this month. And Alice is going to go with me to Casper too. So see how many stitches I can get put on her retreat. By the way, I also have the other Alice, the Tea Party, and I bought a yard of Fiery Skies, so this is 1/2 of it. This is 1/2 of the yard. And this is the other half that I'm going to do the Tea Party on. And I thought they'd be lovely to hang as companion pieces. So those are my September goals. And I actually did have another piece that I was going to work on. put 4,000 stitches in, but you got, guys, I'm thinking I'm going to UFO this one. I don't UFO very often, but that is only 744 stitches. And the color is called Chocolate Mint, and I love the color. But this is so thick. It is like stitching on canvas. And I'm not talking needlepoint canvas. I'm talking like trying to stitch through blue jeans. Because I don't know what it is about this fabric that is just, I don't like it. I don't like the feel of it. It's not fun to stitch on. And you know what? Life is too short to mess around with nasty fabric. So, this is Johnny Appleseed by Monster Bubbles. You can see there's a lot there, and I have done very little. And I'm looking at this too going, I don't know if this is even going to fit, because, I mean, I've done that little hump. You've got all this down here, and I don't know if there's enough space on that. So that's another reason to maybe toss this fabric. So, yeah, I wish you could feel this. I mean, it's just thick. I don't know how else to describe it. I do not like the feel of it. So, but I like the color. But we are going to figure out something to do with it. It's not going to live here anymore. I am using Fibers to Die For as the threads. And I was thinking I have got other options. So this is an R&R Reproductions French Vanilla. We could do this. Okay, you know what? I don't think this fabric will work. Because this is that same, this is Joblin. I'm wondering if that Chocolate Mint is Joblin too. Because this is feeling, I'm getting the same vibe off of this one. Okay, those of you that like stitching on Joblin, what is it you like about it? Because I am feeling this, and let's face it, I am a linen girl. I love stitching on linen. Summer Queen here, she is on silk linen, and oh my gosh, is it a dream to touch and to feel, and it is just delightful, and it is thin, and it is just a touch stiff. It's not super soft. I don't like the feel of this. So we're not even going to consider this one. And if anybody is interested in a fat quarter of Under the Sea Fabrics Melisius in Joblin, leave a comment, because I think I've just discovered that I do not like stitching on Joblin. So the other fabric I have that I was thinking would be nice to do Johnny Appleseed on is, this is a Bestitched Me Lunar. It is a 28 count linen. So we're not dealing with even weave, but I thought this would be pretty. There are the fibers on it. This is kind of, it's looking kind of washed out, but this is a blue-gray fabric. But this R&R Reproductions, I don't know. I'm kind of worried about some of the browns. Would I lose that? how that's popping up. The yellow's still fine. But I lose that? No, that one looks okay. That one's fine. You know what? I think we'd be okay with that. I'm not seeing one fiber there that would disappear. Yeah, even those show up. Okay. French vanilla, it looks like you're the winner. And we'll start over. But probably not this year. Okay, so that's how a UFO gets restarted. So, haul. I was up at Stitchery Express and I found a shoe. This is from the Bothy Threads shoe collection. Yes, that is what I paid for it. It's a full kit. Yes, I will probably toss the fabric. I haven't opened it. It's still sealed. But I had to get the Yuletide shoe. And one of the reasons I had to get the Yuletide shoe was because I have this shoe. Can you see that shoe? Or do we have light glare? Look at that shoe. This is the Proud as a Peacock shoe. I just love that shoe. So I had to get the Yuletide shoe to keep it companion. To be a companion to it. Yes, it is fully kitted up, ready to start. I have more pieces to start. And then, of course, I'm on the auto ship for Fabulous Houses, so my floating house arrived. And the classic color works to go with it. And then I picked up my bees in the greenhouse from the Blue Flower. If you remember from the Nashville show, this was one of the ones that I absolutely fell in love with. This was from the Houston Embroiderers Guild 50th anniversary, but it was also released at the Nashville Market. And I put it on layaway and I finally paid it off. I have a lot of stuff on layaway. And a good friend of mine finished stitching some of her Just Nan class projects. So I now have Star of Light, Enchanted Hearts. This one looks familiar. I may have stitched that. I will have to look around and see if I have it. An Evening Star. Okay, because this is a used Just Nan pattern, I do not have that moon charm. So this is where I need your help, Flosstube. I need suggestions for a replacement charm for that moon. This is like looking for mouse butts, guys. If you don't know what I'm talking about with mouse butts, go back and watch last month's video. But mouse butts, so guys, suggestions on where I can find kind of a, looks like kind of a pearl, a pearl moon. I'm thinking a really nice silver moon would work too. But thoughts on what I can use to replace that moon charm would be very much appreciated. And Sasha, you need a new hobby like you need a hole in the head. But I have been watching some other floss tubes, and I'm sorry if I've forgotten who you are, but this fascinated me. Some of you that are doing beaded ornaments, that totally fascinated me. I mean, look at these. Aren't these amazing? I'm getting a reflection, so we'll go this way. Aren't those gorgeous? I have a bead box downstairs. It's actually a bass fisher's box, but it's full of beads, so it becomes a bead box. And my sister-in-law found some actual glass ornaments at a thrift shop. And I am going, but they're a little bit, they used to be silver, but the silver's kind of flecked off a little bit and the paint's kind of flecked off. But they are still, they're actual glass ornaments and they're gorgeous. And I got thinking, I'm going to learn how to do the beaded ornament covers to cover up some of the flaws in these ornaments. Because, let's face it, who among us is not flawed? And sometimes we use paint, and sometimes we use clothes, but we all do a good job of covering up our flaws. Physical imperfections, those are easy to cover up. Character imperfections, that's another story. And we aren't going to go there today. So, you'll remember last time I showed you my gold medal? So that's all. But you remember last time I showed you my gold medal from playing kickball? Well, my company also won a silver medal in what they called Heart and Soul, which was the food drive and blood drive. And since I donated blood, I got to get one of the silver medals. And then overall, we were the overall bronze medalists. So I now have a silver, gold, and bronze medal from the Salt Lake County corporate summer games. Because everybody who participated got a bronze medal from our company, which was a lot of bronze medals for the county to give out. So the other thing that happened on the last weekend of August is I got to meet Jan Hicks, and she signed my December 25th ornament that I got in the Under the Sea Fabrics Christmas box. So that was cool. Okay. We're going to talk about glasses. These are my glasses. You'll notice I am not wearing them. In the beginning of August, I realized that my lenses were too scratched for me to see my computer screen while I was having trouble stitching. It just was not working. Nothing was really working. And unfortunately, my eye doctor, my optometrist, ophthalmologist, no, he's an optometrist, he's an OD. So my optometrist had retired and moved to Ecuador. Which, you know what? Good for him. I'm so glad he speaks Spanish and he moved to Ecuador and is having a great retirement. Unfortunately, that means that I need to find somebody new. So I started asking around for recommendations, and everybody told me, oh my gosh, you need to go to the Holiday Standard Optical. Holiday Standard Optical is the place to go. Go check out Holiday Standard Optical. So I made an appointment with Holiday Standard Optical, and I got Dr. Cat. And I thought, oh, hey, this is perfect because everybody knows I'm a crazy cat lady. I collect crazy cats. And yes, Katrina and Catherine and Kat and the other Catherine and Katie all know that I collect crazy cats. So getting a doctor named Dr. Cat just seemed perfect, right? Yes. Oh my gosh, guys. I took my prescription into Walcott Optical, which is where I usually go to get my prescriptions made. And Larry said, this is really, really far off your last prescription. Are you sure you don't want a second opinion? I'm like, Larry, everybody told me to go to Standard Optical. Why would I want a second opinion? I mean, he's supposed to be really good. And Larry goes, I am not familiar with Dr. Cat. I'm used to seeing a different doctor at Standard Optical. Are you sure you don't want a second opinion? I'm like, Larry, how far off can it be? I mean, it's been 4 years since I've had an eye exam because I got my last pair of glasses right before COVID. And the frames are in really great shape, guys. Aren't those wonderful? Those are in really good shape. So I just had them put new lenses in my old frames. And guys, oh my gosh. Within 3 hours of putting them on the first time, I was having a headache. I sat down to stitch and could not see squat. I actually ended up getting out the hobby glasses that Dr. Boyer made for me that I kind of stored away because I was stitching fine with my regular glasses. Why did I need to use my hobby glasses? My hobby glasses, the ones that Dr. Boyer made for me, Dr. Boyer's my retired optometrist. He did a magnifier. It's a bifocal with a magnifier on the bottom and a distance reader on the top, so that I can read my chart at 24 inches away, and I can stitch on my cross stitch frames at 14 to 17 inches, and they work beautifully. So I tried to stitch with these. You saw the results. Less than half of my normal stitching. I mean, I was lucky to put in 50 stitches a night, and when my normal average is 327. So after a week, I called Walcott back and said, "You're right. This is wrong. This is absolutely wrong. Who do you recommend I go see?" Because Dr. Boyer was wonderful. This Dr. Cat guy, don't know what his problem is. Who do you recommend? So Walcott gave me a list of 4 or 5 names that they really liked. And I went to Dr. Scott Craig. And he looked at my prescription, looked at my eyes, and after spending easily double the amount of time that Dr. Cat spent with me, he said, "I bet those glasses give you headaches, don't they?" I said, "Yeah, they definitely give me headaches." And he says, "Especially in the right eye." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm getting the headaches right here, just right behind my right eye." He says, "Yeah." "Who wrote the prescription for you?" I said, "Standard Optical." He said, Standard Optical's usually really, really good. In fact, they're so good that my company just bought them. I'm like, "What?" "No, Standard Optical's been family owned for 4 generations. He says, "Oh, honey, let me give you the dirt." I'm like, "Oh, we're going to spill the tea here. So tell me, what happened?" Well, it turns out that 4th generation Standard Optical took over at the beginning of 2023, January, February 2023. 4th generation took over and was starting to modernize Standard Optical, bring them up to the computer, upgrade their computer system, get them on the modern ordering system, updating the website, all the electronic things that the boomer before him did not do. And apparently it was really stressful, and he had a heart attack and died in November of 2023. Well, having just taken over the company, they really didn't have a succession plan in place. So Standard's been kind of foundering for 6 months, 7 months. And in May, VSP Vision purchased Standard Optical. Well, the really good doctors that were at Holiday Standard Optical resigned. And in fact, according to several of the news articles I found, a lot of the doctors that worked for Standard Optical resigned in May when the sale was announced. And so Standard has been scrambling to get new doctors, and apparently the new doctor they got did not check my astigmatism. I have progressive lenses with no astigmatism modifier. Dr. Scott Craig took one look at him and said, you know what? Your vision is good enough that you can drive without these. Get yourself some readers to do your computer work at work. And he says, I can tell you right now that your stitching glasses, you just get yourself a pair of readers from, he says, don't go to the dollar store, those will scratch. You know, just go to TJ Maxx and get yourself a 5-pack of 2.75 readers. You will do perfectly fine stitching with 2.75 readers. He says, you're going to find that it's not going to match the new prescription I'm going to give you. So you're still going to need to use the readers to stitch with, but you'll be able to do computer work, and you'll be able to drive, and you'll be able to not have headaches with the new prescription I'm going to give you. He says, now, since you can drive perfectly fine without glasses, don't wear these. I'm like, what? He's like, do not wear the wrong prescription. You're going to make yourself he says, you're going to make yourself feel horrible. You're going to have continual headaches. He says, when was the last time you didn't have a headache? And I'm like, before I picked up these glasses, I actually had 2 migraines in August. And guys, I haven't had a migraine in 8 or 9 years before August. And he's like, do not wear your glasses until you get your new prescription. So I went from his place to Walcott, dropped off the new prescription, and I said, Larry, does this one look better? And Larry looks at it and he says, yes, this is within 5% of your astigmatism on the pair before the pair I just made you. I'm like, Larry, is there any chance I can get a discount on a new set of lenses because I can't wear these anymore? He said, it's been less than 30 days. They're under warranty. You guys, I could have just died. I was so excited because I had just paid $500 for crap lenses. Walcott made them right. They were the wrong prescription. So guys, be careful with your eye doctors. If your glasses are giving you a headache within a week of wearing them, go have your eyes checked, go back to the doctor, or do what I did and find a different doctor. Because let me tell you, $75 for a new eye exam was well worth it. I am expecting my new lenses hopefully before Casper. Please let me get them before Casper. Walcott said that they would be 7 to 10 days. I dropped them off a week ago. So today or tomorrow, Monday maybe. I mean, okay, it was Labor Day Monday. So maybe they meant 7 to 10 business days, which would make the day I leave for Casper the end of it. You know what? Did I share my shirt today? I don't think I did. Check out this shirt. I like murder shows, comfy clothes, and maybe 3 people. So I got that shirt at Stitchery Express, and it was fun. Okay, so you've now had the long version of why I have no glasses on. So, time for crime. Okay, those of you who are not here for the true crime, you're welcome to leave. So, we're going to start with a bit of politics. Stasha, why are you talking politics? Well, do you remember the Utah State School Board member who doxed the Cottonwood High basketball player and claimed that that 16-year-old girl was transgender because she works out every day and is very muscular? So she must be trans, right? No. She was born a girl. A phone call to the school could have verified that, yeah, her birth certificate says she's a girl. But no, we have to make public statements claiming that Cottonwood allows transgender students to play on the basketball team against Utah state law. And I told you the best thing that I could do was to support her opponent's campaign. Guys, I got a thank you note for my campaign donation. I didn't donate that much, but Amanda Bollinger sent me a thank you note. By the way, Amanda beat her in the primaries. So Amanda is now on her way to the general election in November. So good luck, Amanda. Hope you get on. Okay, we're going to do, it's not true crime, but we're going to do one more piece of Utah political news. So, our governor is Governor Cox, and we have, let's face it, we're a Republican state, which means that candidates are generally selected during the primaries and then they're shoo-ins for the general election. Well, Governor Cox was challenged in the primary. Well, Utah has a convention system where you go to caucuses, you elect delegates, your delegates go to the convention votes for candidates, and then if the candidates are not able to win enough votes in convention, then they go to a primary election, and then the winner of the primary election is the candidate. Well, Governor Cox had a challenger at convention, and that candidate won the convention but did not win by a large enough margin to avoid the primary. So Phil Lyman and Governor Cox went to the primary election, and in Utah, the primary election is a closed election, so only those that are registered as Republicans can vote in the Republican primary. And Phil Lyman lost big time, like in a landslide. Well, Phil Lyman is claiming that he should not have had to go to the primary. He is claiming that the rules were unfair. He won in the convention, therefore he should have been the candidate. So he has filed a suit and has, as part of the filing for the suit, they have allowed him to be a write-in candidate on the Utah state ballot for governor. Well, the newspaper today announced that Phil Lyman is not the only Lyman who is qualified to run as a write-in candidate. That's right. Richard and Carol Lyman are running for governor and lieutenant governor. They are a married couple. They are spelled, their last name is spelled the exact way as, same way as Phil Lyman's. And so, if you are in Utah and are writing in Lyman as your candidate, you have to make sure that you write Phil or Richard, because there is no way to tell. If you just write Lyman, there's no way to tell which one you are voting for, which one you meant. So the county clerks are going to have a miserable time with write-in ballots, because if you are voting write-in on the machine, there's no way they can tell who cast that ballot. The card that is generated is a random number. It doesn't tie back to a voter record. At least that's what they tell us. Otherwise, how could you have a secret ballot? So, if you're voting for either Phil or Richard Lyman, make sure to include the first name in the write-in ballot. Or you could just vote for one of the two candidates that are on the ballot and not a write-in. You know, just saying. So, let's go to crime. There is a brand new documentary that dropped today on Peacock, which I have not had a chance to watch, about Ruby Franke. So, next month, I will tell you about the Peacock documentary on Ruby Franke. However, I can tell you about the Peacock documentary that dropped on Nicholas Rossi. You'll remember we talked last month about Nicholas Alaverdian, aka Nicholas Rossi, aka Arthur Wright, who is accused of raping 2 women in Utah, was convicted of SA with, obviously not going to get monetized. Even if I were large enough to get monetized, I keep saying words that YouTube takes away your monetization on, because I talk about true crime. And it's really hard to use other words. So anyway, Nicholas Rossi was convicted in Ohio of I think SA is the YouTube acceptable term, but he basically trapped a woman in a staircase and pleasured himself while touching her. He was also wanted by the federal government for credit card fraud and interstate and illegal actions on interstate commerce, which is a federal offense. And during 2020, somebody called and claimed he was dead. And somebody edited Rossi's Wikipedia page saying that he was dead. And Peacock dropped a 4-part series about how they discovered that Arthur Knight, living in the UK, was actually Nicholas Rossi and has been extradited and is now living in a Utah County jail waiting his trial. Which there were some preliminary hearings, but then he got an attorney, and those have been delayed until his attorney can get up to speed. Well, one of the things that I learned from the Peacock documentary was David Levitt, who was the prosecutor last year, in 2022, was running for re-election. And all of a sudden there were all these rumors about how he had been accused of being a Satanist, and how he was accused of cannibalism, and how he was accused of all these weird stuff. And it came out in the documentary that the source to the sheriff's, okay, it was a member of the sheriff's department that was running against Levitt. It came out in the documentary that the sheriff's department was being fed information from Arthur Knight. And when a reporter heard about that, they said, you realize that Arthur Knight is Nicholas Rossi that you're trying to extradite, right? And for the Peacock documentary, the sheriff's department vehemently denies that they ever received any information from Nicholas Rossi. Yeah, I don't think so. But anyway, Levitt lost the election. 72% was what his opponent had. He only received 28% of the vote because, let's face it, people are sheep. People are sheep. They will believe whatever is in the press. And if the press says that you eat babies, guess what? You're going to lose the election. Maybe that's a rumor you ought to start about the candidate you don't want to win for president. Anyway, according to the documentary, David Levitt, after losing the election, bought a castle in Scotland. And Arthur Knight, Nicholas Rossi, Nicholas Alaverdian is now in Utah. And David Levitt, who lost the election because of Nicholas Rossi's interference, is now living in Scotland. Seems like poetic justice to me. Okay, so other things that happened. Kouri Richins in August was scheduled to have a 3-day preliminary hearing as to whether or not she should be bound over for trial. Remember, Sky Lazaro quit, so we have a whole new defense team, and early August, we had the motions to recuse the prosecution and move it to Salt Lake County. I still love the judge telling Sky Lazaro, we seated a jury for Gwyneth Paltrow. Are you saying your client is more famous than Gwyneth Paltrow? Yeah, they didn't move it to Salt Lake. So the trial stays in Summit County, but they were scheduled for 3 days of preliminary evidence regarding binding her over for trial. After the second day, the judge basically said, I think we've heard enough. We don't need to hear any additional evidence. There's enough here to bind her over for trial. So the third day of witnesses did not have to come in. But one of the things we did learn in during the preliminary evidentiary hearings is that in her journal, okay, remember, the Walk the Dog letter that Kouri wrote, she claimed it was fiction. In her journal, and frankly, I don't know many people who write fiction in their journals. In her journal, Kouri claims she gave fentanyl to her husband in a lemon shot. So all these years, all these months, Gad says, yeah, it's been over a year. All these months, we've been talking about a Moscow Mule. Sky went on to 2020 and said, they tested the cups. There was nothing there. It wasn't a Moscow Mule, guys. It was a lemon shot. I don't know what a lemon shot is. If you know, tell me in the comments. I have no idea. So anyway, April 28th of 2025, Kouri goes on trial. And we'll see what happens. Because after 2 days of evidence, the judge felt there was enough to bind her over for attempted, first degree, multiple financial crimes, We didn't even get into the preliminary evidence on the financial crimes. Well, okay, I take that back. We did have one forensic accountant talk about falsified bank statements when applying for loans, and the fraudulent HELOC that Kouri took out on Eric's house. Okay, that brings us up to speed on Kouri Richins and where we are there. There will be some additional motions between now and April. The court may or may not do those motions in public. I don't remember what they decided, but at the end of September, they're supposed to have the first of their preliminary motions. So Bryan Kohlberger. So Bryan Kohlberger is a little bit north. They held the change of venue hearing in August. Should Bryan Kohlberger continue in the county where the crime took place, or should he be moved to a different county? And interestingly enough, in looking at the information that was gathered by the defense, there's not a county in Idaho where Bryan Kohlberger is unknown. And basically what was brought up was, if we look at the Daybell trial, they started with a jury pool of 1,800 people and they sat a jury of 18. Given the numbers the defense showed, the prosecution's argument was, given the numbers the defense showed, there's really no place in Idaho that people don't know who he is. And the best thing to do is let's just stay right here instead of having to move the judge, the clerks, the court, the evidence. I mean, shifting the evidence 600 miles away, things get lost in moves. Let's do things here where the staff is, where the court is. There's another county that's 30 minutes away. We could bring in a jury pool from there. Or we've got 32,000 people we have 32,000 eligible jurors in this county. Why don't we start with 1,800 the way the Daybell trial did and go down to 18 or 15? So we'll see how the judge rules. It was a pretty good argument. And the defense's counter was, no, first you have to decide whether or not he can get a fair trial and then rule whether we move it or not. And then you can look at where to move it to. You can't look at both together. And it's like, why not? Why can't you look at both together? If there's no place to move it to, then the best thing to do is stay put. So we'll see what happens. The end of September, near the end of September, is when the judge should rule on that motion of whether or not to change the venue for Bryan Kohlberger. If you don't remember who Bryan Kohlberger is, he is the man accused of killing the 4 students in Moscow, Idaho. University of Idaho students. Okay, and then the 4th case we're going to talk about today is Sarah Boone, also known as Florida Suitcase Lady. Sarah Boone went through 8 attorneys. The judge ruled that, we don't have any more attorneys to give you. You have gone through the public defender's pool, you're done. And she said that she had to represent herself. Well, Sarah Boone created an ad in one of her filings advertising for an attorney, and she found one. So the attorney has filed a motion asking to delay the trial so he can get up to speed on the case and make sure she has fair representation. And the judge is like, no, this trial has been delayed more than enough times. We're done delaying. You have until October to get up to speed. The other thing that happened in the Sarah Boone case, again, she's the lady accused of zipping her husband in a suitcase and videotaping herself while he was in the suitcase, and then going to bed, and he suffocated in the suitcase. The other thing that happened in her case is a non-party, someone who does not represent Sarah Boone, filed a motion claiming that the entire thing had to be dismissed because she had been denied her right to a speedy trial. When you keep firing your attorneys, you don't get a speedy trial, because your new attorney then comes in and has to be delayed, and yeah, no, the judge ruled we don't accept motions from a non-party, so that was denied. So she is going to go to trial. It does look like it's going to be October. She does have an attorney. He is going the rounds of talk shows asking for help. And we'll see what happens with Sarah Boone in October. The one thing that was interesting in reviewing some of the motions by her new attorney and some of the press conferences from her new attorney, it turns out that Sarah Boone's husband's brother is currently in jail for a DV charge. And one of the reasons that the attorneys were asking for an extension was because they are trying to get Sarah seen by a psychiatrist who could possibly diagnose her with battered woman syndrome. Who knows? Maybe she was a battered woman. We'll find out. It'll be interesting in October to see what the trial is. And then one of the other cases that I am just barely starting to look into because it was in the news yesterday and there are no details yet. Up in West Haven, a woman was found in her vehicle with her 3 children, all of them deceased by gunshot wounds. The police have not given any details as to whether this was self-inflicted or inflicted upon her. But I'm just starting to do the research on that case because it was last night. It was just announced last night. So we don't have anything on it yet. But that's where I am. I'm getting ready to go up to the Crazy Woman Retreat in Casper. Sarah from Our Stitching Kingdom is going to be sitting at my table most likely. She has 2 other friends. There's only space for 6 to 8 at a table. We are at 7. So we're kind of maxed out. This is the first retreat that I've gone to where I have a table mates picked out ahead of time. So that will be different. That will be new. And again, I'm taking my daughter-in-law with me. And this is Catherine's first time going to a retreat. Remember, I collect crazy cats. I'm a crazy cat lady. Even though I have beagles. So, anyway, besides that, let's face it, I'm crazy. If you're hanging out with me, you're probably got some version of crazy. But you know what? That's fine. It's perfectly fine. It is wonderful to be unique. So, I'm a crazy cat lady. I collect crazy cats. And Catherine and I are going to be driving 491 miles to Casper, Wyoming. Which, by the way, is less from Moscow to Boise. So hopefully they leave the Kohlberger trial where they are at. But that's up to the judge to decide. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day, rest of your night if you're watching at night. And remember, patterns are just a place to start. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.